12, with the mission to continue expanding the diversity and community relevance of our programs. Omar oversees Bayer Farm, part of the modern Grange movement. Omar oversees Bayer Farm, part of the modern Grange movement building community around gardening and local healthy food. He also coordinates Land Path's Vamos Afuera Spanish language outings and Inspired Forward, a teen young adult program. Omar is vice president for the North Bay Organizing Project and also serves on the Latino Outdoors Advisory Board, a national organization promoting Latino engagement with the outdoors. He is the teacher for Danza Azteca Shanto and lives in Santa Rosa with his wife and 3-year-old son. Please give a warm sunrise welcome to Omar.
So good morning. I usually kind of stay away from the mic because sometimes I get pulled up. Back there, I sometimes scare myself. But thank you again for inviting me over. Day of the Dead, or Dia de los Muertos, it's really, as I've said, I think for a lot of the presentations that we've had through Aztec dancing, I'll explain how that actually relates to Dia de los Muertos. But through the Aztec dance presentations that we've had, I've thanked a lot of community members, schools, organizations for actually allowing us to be there and actually sharing some of these traditions with our children. And it's something that being away. I did grow up in Mexico for a little bit, and I saw the traditions there. I saw the richness and a lot the traditions and how our upbringing was. There's a lot of really rich values in the traditions that I'm going to show you right now. I think that's what, seeing that here in the United States and how we can actually fall back, at least the Mexican community, fall back on some of these traditions and continue them, I think has a great value. Now, Dia de los Muertos was actually honored by the United Nations in 2003 they call it it's something to value. It's a cultural heritage that needs to be valued by the UNESCO. So in 2003, they actually looked back at the state of Michoacan, just in one region in Mexico. There's so many traditions within this holiday that the United Nations actually looked to actually protect and also to encourage the education of a celebration like this. So right now, the roots of Dia de los Muertos. How many of you have heard of Dia de los Muertos or Day of the Dead? How many of you have never heard about it before? You know what? Okay, good. So it actually, a lot of people think that it's actually like a Latin American celebration. And in fact, Dia de los Muertos itself goes back to pre-Columbian times in Mexico. Mesoamerica also, Mesoamerica also extends into Central America, at least the pre-Columbian cultures. And what I'm going to be focusing on right now is actually, they look back at the Aztec influence, how the Aztecs actually looked at, it was actually 20 days. It was 20 days of remembering those who had passed on, and also a time where you actually were able to share, to welcome people coming in, and it was a time of celebration. You actually had a time to communicate with those who had gone on. And it was a time of celebration, as I told somebody, I think I talked to a couple of people. It was honoring the life of those folks who had already passed on. Now, there's some contention in terms of when it was celebrated, but what they do come up with, it was during the fall. After the equinox, the vernal equinox, there was a time of getting ready to actually greet those who had passed on. When the Spanish came to Mexico, and when they introduced Christianity, they compacted those 20 days, or 40, actually it was 40 days. The months in the pre-Columbian times in Mesoamerica were by 20 days. So it was 40 days of honoring this, and it got compacted into November 1st, November 2nd. As I understand, I think in Christianity they celebrate All Souls Day around this time, and then also, even in some parts of Mexico, as we'll talk about in a while, some parts of Mexico also the 30th of October is still celebrated. So they started partying early instead of just a compact November 1st and 2nd. In Mexico, and it's a very Mexican holiday. Even in the other parts of Latin America, they probably know about it, but they celebrate in different ways. But November 1st in Mexico is El Día de los Angelitos, or the children. All right, and then on the 2nd, it's Los Santos Difuntos, all basically just everybody. They kind of group them up together, and that's November 2nd is when actually they celebrate Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. And so again, other parts of Mexico it's celebrated also. They start on the 31st. Yeah, I'm going to talk about just two experiences, and that is Oaxaca and Michoacán. Oaxaca, that's where my wife's family's from, and it's an area in Mexico that a lot of people really want to go to. One, food, and as you can see, having a Oaxacan mother-in-law and Michoacan mother, and family members. Those are two areas where a lot of people are really attracted because of the food. And so, but also the traditions that go behind Dia de los Muertos. This is a cemetery in the state of Oaxaca. And so all, there's a couple of, a few traditions that actually kind of are very distinct across Mexico. So one of those is la velación. They stay up all night. They go to the cemetery. People put up an altar in their home. And on the day, on November 1st, they put up the altar. They stay by the altar, or they go to the cemetery, and people stay there. Because of that, that feeling, that notion that their ancestors will come and join the family on that day. And so that's one. And the other one is just partaking in food, music, and a few occasions if somebody liked really good tequila or mezcal or a beer, it's not uncommon to see all this on an altar. Because it is a celebration. It's a celebration of those folks who have passed on, and you want to welcome them in that way. So this is another altar from the state of Oaxaca. Now, and altars vary. Some go. There's some people that actually study the whole altar. How you set one up and different levels, going from 2 levels to 3 levels to 7 levels to 9 levels, based on the kind of backgrounds. If somebody comes from a very strong Catholic background, they integrate that into the altars, it also has to do with how the Aztecs or cultures in Mesoamerica also view different values in their lives as well that they incorporate here. So here you can see there's chocolate, there's bread, and other fruits, and so it's whatever the folks liked, or their ancestors liked, that's what you put up there. Now this is in the state of Michoacán. Now a famous place in the state of Michoacán where tourists, people that actually study this holiday. Is an island in the middle of Pascuaro Lake called Janitzio. So it's a small island. The entire area has a very strong indigenous community, and the whole island lights up on November 1st in the evening, and folks stay up, you know, at the cemetery, and, you know, into the morning. This is a shot in the morning after folks have stayed up all night. This is also on the island of Jalisco. Now, you know, I brought these. This is not just an altar, but these are floral arrangements that people have made with a flower called cempasúchil. So I didn't want to put these out on the table because they're really aromatic. You know, so you know them as marigolds, but it's they call it the flower of the dead. Now, you know, when we start talking about the dead, you know, there's cultures that seem a little bizarre. You know, start talking about people that are dead, but as you can see here, it's a time where you actually have that connectedness. You can actually, you don't have to be afraid. And even just the smell of the flower, they say that the incense, the copal, which is very ancient way of actually, it's a very ancient incense. It's a sap. You burn it, and they say that in old times the burning of bones and the copal incense will merge together and actually create the aroma of marigold. Something when I mention sometimes that, people kind of get this like, oh, I don't want to smell that. But you're talking about a process of life. It's something that happens. We all encounter it. And a lot of not just in Mexico, but a lot of other cultures as well. It's something that people are exposed to, and they accept. So again, this is a cemetery. They have they teach children from very young ages how to work flour and make these decorations. Eventually, as they say, when I pass on, I want my children to offer these same things to me. When I come, as my grandma used to say, when I come back, I want to come back with part. So anyway, so a couple of things that have been integrated into. There's a couple of traditions, and then I'm going to talk about a few things that have been integrated, in more modern times, even a couple hundred years ago, that have really changed kind of how we view Dia de los Muertos now. Now, if you go to Mexico around November 1st, especially on November 2nd, somebody might come up to you and might say, I want my quiero mi muerto. I want my dead person or my dead one. And they're talking about bread. And this is a pan de muerto, the traditional pan de muerto. In some places, it actually it has almost like somebody deceased. But also that one is the more traditional pan de muerto. It's found all over Mexico. But also sugar skulls for the kids. So these are little sugar skulls that they decorate with other candy, and it's they say is people in Mexico don't necessarily look at death as in a bad way, but also they laugh at it, they eat it, you play with it, and so like I said, because it is that part of stage in life as well. They make poetry out of it, they're very satirical poems. Jose Guadalupe Posada, during the Mexican Revolution, started making all these satirical cartoons that made fun of Porfirio Diaz and the dictatorship before the Mexican Revolution in 1910 when it started. And so a lot of people when you see dead here in the United States, they see La Catrina, this very elegantly dressed woman that he made fun of because these are the people that were ruling Mexico at that time, exploiting Mexico, and when he started doing he worked for a print, and he would actually put this out there. But a lot of his drawings are actually used now in a lot of advertisement and kind of getting the word out of Day of the Dead and people painting their faces like La Catrina and like his drawings, which were drawn in the early 1900s. 1900s, and so I wanted to actually come now into how we celebrate the Day of the Dead in Sonoma County. It has reached all the way up here. There's a lot of, farm-working families that still, Mexican families that actually still set up their altares. One of them, my mom, my mother-in-law. So on November 31st, we'll start getting ready. I took these flowers from my front yard, and people have now looked at how much these are coveted in Sonoma County. You can probably see them in the front yards. Very they're grown really small for some reason and not this big. That you really can't get these big flowers unless you really look for them. People actually plant them, and when you do find the bigger flowers, they're really expensive. So so people now start planting them back in their own yards, so here in Santa Rosa, and actually on the way over here, I was thinking why I didn't bring you some dates of events coming up, but I'll get into that. But a couple of things that are happening in Sonoma County. These two pictures were taken in downtown Santa Rosa. So on November 1st, actually happens to fall on a Saturday, and November 2nd on a Sunday. Downtown Santa Rosa, they're going to have events all day on both days, and they stay up all night on the 1st. So if anybody wants to come by and just check it out, these are high school student altars. So some of the high schools around the area, I think as far as Geyserville, they come down to downtown Santa Rosa and they partake in actually setting up the altars and teaching the high school students and other folks within the high school of what the Day of the Dead really means to folks. And so I think this one was from a Ridgeway class in Santa Rosa, and that's from Montgomery High School. And at Bayer Farm, one of the first events that, if you don't know about Bayer Farm, it's a local community garden in Santa Rosa. One of the first events that they had in order to, this was before my time, but to actually get the community to come and see what was going on at Bayer Farm, they had a harvest festival / Dia de los Muertos event. And people came because they knew what Dia de los Muertos was all about, especially in the heart of Rosa. But also people throughout Sonoma County know what a harvest festival is as well around the time. So there was this great mix of energies that actually gathered here, and so that was, now there's a sign that it says Bayer Farm, but it's how now people use the day to actually come together, and people like today we're learning about it, and people are taking a few minutes of their day to actually learn about it. Hopefully it can actually be something where you can actually educate other folks and share these traditions as well. This is, if you haven't noticed, me right there. That's me with the Aztec dance group. Now, these traditions, like I mentioned, they have a pre-Columbian origin and in Aztec dancing, fairly new in Sonoma County. But we're going to be very busy during the next few. We're going to Ukiah. I'm going to be going to Ukiah tonight. We're going to be dancing all day on the 1st. We're going to be dancing a few times on the 2nd. And that is because people all over Sonoma County are celebrating this day. And it's an important part of, like I said, the Mexican community. It's a time for celebration. And somebody else has caught on to this. So, I think we were talking about Cinco de Mayo and how it's grown in different ways. A lot of people make some money off of it and everything. But then, this is a very creative way of also one, acknowledging the holiday, but also honoring the holiday. And I think this is somebody attributed this to Romo during their first the Giants' first World Series win. I think it was his first or second, but he actually sported a shirt. And so anyway, so the Giants caught on to it. Other teams have done the same thing. But not just in baseball, but in sports. But I'm hoping that as the awareness of Dia de los Muertos and what it is actually kind of spreads, that it's in a healthy way and in a positive way. That you honor the culture, the traditions behind it in a positive way. That it's hopefully it's even like the flowers when we try to go out and get us a pasuchi flower. They take an arm off, you know. But it's, you know, and that's why people have actually looked at, you know, growing themselves, but also just, you know, kind of exploiting the holiday and then the traditions for something else. So, you know, glad that the Giants actually were able to use it. So. And if anybody has any questions, I think there was some time for questions, or I think maybe we might have a couple of minutes. So, whatever.
18.
18?
18.
18?
Over here.
Rich? One? I just want to comment that some of us have had the good fortune to have been in Mexico for a Dia de los Muertos. David Mark Raymond and I both were in Tepic, I think, for it, and it really is a fun, you know, I'm sorry, but we have this Puritan thing about death as being awful and you have to mourn, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know, this is the complete opposite. You sit there and you kind of go, this is great. This is fun. This is what we should be doing, is recognizing and honoring and enjoying that we have been able to know these people. And it really is, you know, a community event. You know, people are out in the cemeteries, and it's really great. And actually, I had lunch yesterday with my siblings, and we sat around and drank and celebrated our parents. And it's not the negative mourning, you know, oh my God, they're gone. It's, yay, we knew them, and this is what they like. This is what, you know, and celebrating. And I really think it's a great tradition.
So while we were visiting in Mexico, we saw many altars, and I'd like you to talk a little bit more about altars, but I want to say that I was really impressed when I visited Rotary clubs there, that they had altars for the Rotarians who had been with them. And they were wonderful. There was pictures of them, their families, some articles that they had, lovely things that they enjoyed. And after a couple of years of that, I came home and built altars. I have altars so I adapted from your culture something into mine, and it was a much more positive and nice feeling. But can you tell us a little bit more about what's on the altars and how that looks?
Well, it's really up to that person. So you know, some people. I mean, I've seen in some homes a corner where it's dedicated to. You know, and in some Mexican families, you know, you have an altar all the time. You know, you know, just really, you know, remembering those who have passed on to different life. You know, and we're still there, but it could be something very simple. It could be, you know, if you want to really get into, there's people that actually study that on different levels of what it takes a person to actually go to the underworld, plan, they call it or you know, just the sacrament. It all depends on your background. So it could be very simple as a table with one level, two. It's really up to you. It's you know the deceased better than probably and you want to share whatever you can. So it could be a picture, it could be something that you like. If you're Giants, A's fans like myself, or something like that, you know, I mean myself, but you know, whatever you think would have made them happy.
How many generations do you go back? People generally go back because you know, in small communities, the whole family's been there for generations. How far back do they celebrate?
How far back in terms of?
How many generations? Grandparents, great grandparents?
I mean, if you have as many as folks as you probably remember. My mom has, you know, pictures that I see are my grandparents. You know, her and my parents. Very, you know, we don't really talk. I don't know too much about my grandparents. But my wife, her mother talks about her great grandparents, and she has pictures of them. So it all depends on, you know, who you're connected with.
Okay.
I have to admit that being brought up in New England, the very traditional culture of the cemetery, where you went, and it was very, very solemn. When we went and visited Mexico this time of year and we were taken to the cemeteries, it was quite a cultural adjustment for me to walk through the cemeteries and see all of the parties going on, and the tequila, and the food, and the music, and the candles. But that's the glory of Rotary. It takes you to different cultures so that you can appreciate it. It was quite something for me. I can't say that, I had to really adjust to it because I wasn't brought up on that. But it really is quite a festival. And it's really funny because it comes to us from California. We come to Halloween and we're usually in Mexico this time of year. But we're going in the spring instead this year. And so I appreciate all the fun that's happening there. And thank you for bringing it to us.
Well, thank you. One more. Dave?
One very quick question. This is a celebration of their life. Is there a belief that their spirits come back during this period of time, and you can speak to them or interact with them in some way?
Yeah, I mean, so it goes back down to, that is the essence of the holiday. That's they are on, overnight. During the velación, you stay up all night. They will partake in the food that you prepare for them. People take, my mother-in-law prepares a mole that takes her a long day to make, sometimes a couple of days, and there is a belief, we believe that they are there to partake in that food, and that they are there with us. That is the essence of this. I kind of struggle with saying holiday because it's just that during this time. So they come during this time to partake, and people believe in it.
Omar, thank you very much. This is a bottle of Pinot Noir that John Boletto bottled for us specifically to help us fight polio. So it's Pinot for polio, and with each of these bottles goes a contribution to the end polio now.
Well, thank you.
And I'd like you to do a little chore for me. We have a door prize, and someone out there has one of these tickets. Do a draw ticket and read the last 4 digits.
1292. 1292.
292?
It's not done forever. Okay. Bill, you got a chance 1 in 7 of drawing the ace here and getting.
Draw the ace right away, I don't know.
I've already won the lottery.
There it is.
Homecoming is good.
Thank you for playing, and we have a consolation prize for you. This is a bottle of Mazzacco Cab Sauvignon brought by Richard Ruge, and a nice big sack of espresso decaf, which is kind of an oxymoron.
There was a link on there. It's called Dia de los Muertos. If you just type in Dia de los Muertos on YouTube, there's a really 3-minute clip, it's an animation. It kind of really bring all the kind of what I talked to really down to those things. It's really cute little animation stuff.
Okay.
Happy trails.
Oh, yeah.
I'm supposed to be the judge.
All right, go, Paula, go.
So, with that, wait for it. Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome.
Joe. Paula, where'd you go?
So Susie's husband had been slipping in and out
things would grin, but she was by his bedside every single day. One day, as he slipped back into consciousness, he motioned for her to come close to him. She pulled closer to the bed and leaned to be able to hear him. "You know," he whispered, his eyes filled with tears, "you have been with me throughout all the bad times. When I got fired, you stuck right beside me. When my business went under, there you were. When we lost the house, you were there. When I got shot, you stuck with me. When my health started failing, you were still by my side. And you know what?" "What, dear?" she asked gently, smiling to herself. "I think you're bad luck." A neutron walks into a bar and orders a beer. He asks, "How much for the beer?" The neutron asks the bartender. "For you," replies the bartender, "no charge."
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you, each smile and then. Happy trails.